Dzień dobry, dzieci. It's the Flurza experience, a show about Gwent, but so much more. I'm joined, as always, by the cannoli commander himself, Pavel Burza. How are you, my brethren?
Man, now I want some cannoli that you just mentioned. That cannoli commander, CC. Putting that in my CV. That's beautiful. Beautiful. I want to be a cannoli commander. Haven't had good cannoli since, I don't know, since we were in Sicily. That was what, 3 years ago? 4? I don't know. It was too long ago. Yeah, but hello, Flake. This is episode 11 before I go out,
The cannoli
thinking
tangents?
about Sicily and thinking about the sun and
cannoli tangents are okay, though. Like, what I'm trying to do here is just take various pastries and have this alliteration for your name. Yeah, and throw them at you. I recently discovered that all of my amazing sort of career aspirations in my life, they seem to change now and then. When I was very young, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. That was what I wanted to do as a job. Then I wanted to be a garbage man.
That's good.
I wanted to be a garbage man because I just liked hanging off the side of like my mom's shopping cart and throw things in the shopping cart when we go grocery shopping.
That was always fun. I did that also as a kid.
Yeah. Fighter pilot, was on there as well, partially because I just liked playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on my computer many years ago.
Good game.
But most recently, Mr. Pavel Burza, I've decided that if ever this all goes upend for me,
drum roll,
I want to have my own food truck, and I already know everything about it. Like I'm not saying this from a degree. Is it a
poutine truck?
It wouldn't be a poutine truck because there's tons of those.
There's too much.
Too many of those. I want part of it is legitimately you need a very concise menu. You can't have like a bajillion things. Yeah. You need like everything to appear on one board where someone could just point and it's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what's on the menu: fresh pressed chicken parm sandwiches, veal parm sandwiches, meatball subs, and for the vegetarian option, eggplant parmesan sandwiches. And for dessert, cannoli, and that's it. That's all there is. And drinks, various different drinks. That's it. That's all.
Good that you said it. I also like think that food trucks that do the best are the ones that have not a shit ton of like stuff on the menu, because you have people standing there like, would I want this or do I want this? Did I want that or that? But if you do only a couple things and you do them like super, super well, then you're going to be the boss of those things and people will come and, eat your food because it's awesome and it's good, right?
Pretty much. Easy. And use some of that, maybe get some of my nonna's recipe for her sauce. Use that sauce recipe, bring a little bit of that family DeMarco culture into that, and then just find a buddy, maybe you and I, man. Like, what's going on in Warsaw? What's the deal with that? Like, is there much of a veal or chicken parm sandwich? What's the story in Warsaw for that?
Not really, to be honest. Like I mean, we don't really do well when it comes to like, good sandwiches. I mean, there are a couple places that do them because, Poland is weird when it comes to sandwiches because we also eat sandwiches like on one piece of bread, like not closed.
Yeah.
And we just put stuff on top of it and eat it like that with your hands. And it's like, it's not, we don't have like meatball subs and stuff like that. You'll get that, but in Subway. But I mean, Subway.
Subway.
It's not. Come on.
No. Fresh baked bread. Fresh, like pick up the bread every morning. We'll have a deal with one of the bakeries over there. Some babcha is going to be making us our bread every morning. And then you and I, baby, in a wagon, the Flurza wagon, just driving around.
Ooh.
Then what's hilarious is that our first stop every day at like 11:30 is going to be at the CDPR building. And they'd be like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? Is this why you quit? And we're like, yeah, baby.
Buy our sandwiches now.
Flurza wagons
Make those games.
Yeah, and we're playing like as we pull up to the building, everyone knows we're coming because we don't have like a bell or anything. We're just playing like the Venga Boys music, like the Venga bus is coming, but they can hear it from blocks away because we're blasting it, and we just show up, and it's just this mobile party, and we're selling sandwiches.
Nice.
I think
all
that's
year
good.
Round. That would be awesome.
Just telling you, listen. I've got my retirement.
You have so many business ideas.
I do. Do you want to hear what my one of my initial ones was that I'm actually, and I'm not kidding you, I almost like started the process of because I thought the name was too good. many years ago when like Uber Eats and stuff was just getting started, I wanted to start a very simple noodle business because I love like noodles. It was just very, very simple, like a hole in the wall here in Toronto or something that you can go and whatever. Ultimately, what I really wanted to do was have a place called Tasteful Nudes, and and our delivery app was Send Nudes.
Great name.
And our delivery app would have been called Send Nudes. So that would have been basically it. It's just delivery of noodles, but it would have been like NOODS. So Tasteful Nudes was the name of it, and it was like we'd have like this like classy kind of like experience.
That would go viral. People would enjoy that.
I'm so upset that I did not capitalize on this many years ago. But now I guess the Flurza wagon, I think, is what we're going to
Flurza wagon. Wow. Our first sponsor, Blue Jeans. We're going to be the wagon, like the Blue Jeans wagon, specializing in sandwiches.
Well, hey, maybe we could just kind of pair up with them. Like, we'll see what you said you're going to go visit them. And big time shout out
this summer.
Big time shout out on Gwent Open #1, which is so awesome.
Yeah, I had to.
Of course you did. So yeah, it is episode 11. 11 is also the number worn by my all-time favorite hockey player, Finnish player Saku Koivu, who was the captain of the Montreal Canadiens.
That's a cool name.
Isn't it? If I ever got a dog,
badass name.
Saku
Koivu.
Saku is on my list of if I ever got a dog. Saku is on the short list of names.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it's number 11. It's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah. This week we're going to talk about Open for sure because it just concluded. I'm wearing the proper attire for that Gwent Open t-shirt. We're gonna talk about what else? So new card draw for sure. Forgotten Treasures. That's also what we're going to talk about. And the issue of RNG in Gwent. There's no RNG in Gwent, but is there? There is actually. In every card game there is RNG. But I remember there being no RNG in Gwent when there used to be a lot of RNG. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, you know the drill. We've got the Dagon rumor report to kick us off, my friend.
Yeah, but I think after the curveball you threw at Gwent Open, about the Dagon reveal, we probably should do something else, like premium token report, maybe. How do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm not prepared. So, I'm not prepared for this because the Dagon rumor report is typically what we do, and I write this big, excessively complicated sort of nerdy callback to some sort of fandom that I'm into about Dagon. But you're right. I guess at the Open, we did kind of throw people askew when I was revealing Prophet as the card for the Gwentfinity card reveal. Here we are, and suddenly people were like, "Oh, it's Dagon," and then like, "Oh, it's not Dagon." So that'll count as the Dagon rumor report. We'll say that was it. So premium token report, I suppose, because people love to just ask this question week in, week out, despite the fact that we answer it week in, week out. It is this is essentially the Gwent equivalent of beating a dead horse, but we're gonna do it anyways, just for you, Mr. Pavel Burza. Again, not prepared, but I'll do my best. All right, let's see what we can do. I like premium tokens, and I cannot lie. You other players can't deny that when a drone is spawned with an itty-bitty strength and animations in my face, I have fun. I want to get premium tokens because I heard the community has spoken. Deep in CDPR Tower. Those animators need more power. Oh, Burza, I want premium sirens. Hope CDPR is hiring. The community tries to pressure me, but those tokens that are premium got me so horny. Ooh, spawn some tree ants and unbuckle your pants because they move and they groove and the community will all approve. Baby got premium tokens. Wow, 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 wow. Wow.
We need a mic drop at the end, man. Damn. Wow. Beautifully delivered.
Wow. Now, everyone knows my affinity for the 1990s. That is a callback to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Yeah, beautiful.
You're welcome.
Except before it was Big Butts, right?
It was Big Butts, but I could concur as well. I do also like Big Butts, and I cannot lie. However, at this rate, the premium tokens clearly take priority over everything else. That's like my favorite thing to ask people now. My initial rebuttal to premium token questions is, okay, do you want these before or after Dagon? And
where does Renfree fit into that?
And where does Renfree slide into this whole equation?
Yeah. Tell us. We would like to know.
There you have it.
Yeah, but the questions about premium tokens, they're just ongoing. And how many times, I don't even know how many times I have to answer them in order for them to stop just coming back. Like people just want them now. It's been 14 months. It's been 13 months. It's been this month. It's like, wait, they will come. They will come one day.
Yeah, I just don't understand why people are like, I get it. It's a nice little thing, but I think cosmetics should never be a priority over things like balance and content. Like
of course
ever.
not.
And people will say, well, it is
most
content.
Important.
But
we agree on that. Balance is most important in any card game. Numero uno.
Numero uno. There you have it. So, yeah.
Wayback Machine time.
Yeah, Wayback Machine. A little light this time, but we did find something. I did find something. So in 2020, there was a change to the meteorite powder costs for transmuting cards. So yeah, this week, 2 years ago, there was a nice little revamp, and I think what CDPR did, what you guys did, was you made the lower end of the spectrum for card rarity, like the commons and rares, were cheaper to create, I think, but you ramped up the price for the more expensive ones. So you made you guys made like the legendary cards even more elusive and exclusive to get. I guess sort of
that was the plan.
Yeah, it made
and kind of changed the milling and crafting costs for them. But yeah, that was actually back in April. And one thing sorry, I got to go off. I think the number one problem that we always had was how to make Gwent's economy more or less good. And I think we made it good, but good for the player, not good for the company.
Yeah. Well, that in
I
itself,
still remember full refunds, right?
Oh, full refunds is what essentially, like, full refund Gwent for me was the equivalent of sort of buying into GameStop stock when it was like at the bottom. Like that to me is what it is. You get these cards, and then every time that there was a rework or a change, you get full refund. So I would never dust anything, and then eventually I'm like, okay, I have like 19 copies of like Griffin, so I'll dust them all when they're full refund and feel good about it, and that has essentially funded me. I'm sitting on the small fortune of in-game resources, and I'm not shy to say I haven't bought kegs in like 3 years. I buy the journey, I buy some of the cosmetics, but I never buy cards because I don't need to, and I feel guilty to a degree of, I'm like, well, I'm not supporting the game. Like I'll buy the cosmetics because I want to give CDPR some money and spice up the account and everything. But it's difficult to balance this economy because in reality, Gwent's economy was hands down the best and probably still is the best, even after you guys toned it down. And when you say that the Gwent, you're looking for a good Gwent economy, people would argue, well, like, oh, it was good at the beginning. Look how much free stuff we got. But that's not a sustainable business model. So I have to ask you guys, like, when you guys were figuring this out and sort of revamping some of it, was there ever how early on did you guys realize that you guys were just not to say giving away too much, but that your economy was too generous?
I think at the point where before a patch, players were pretty much playing the stock market, saying like, okay, this card is going to get nerfed for sure. I'm going to now craft thousands of it, and then once the patch hits, like I'll be milling the hell out of that to get full refund from it and get my money back. So they were transitioning from like meteor powder to scraps, from scraps to meteorite powder, and we're doing like these plays, which we weren't really a fan of. So we were trying to limit that to as much as possible because we weren't really happy with it. And then we also got to a point where we did the changes to the powder economy for that to stop, but still, I feel like comparing us to any other card game that I've played that's in digital form, I think we're very, very, very generous. And now that I think about it, not only digital form but also like paper. I play paper Magic. It's super expensive. Like if you want to play the let's say the older formats like Modern, you need at least like $1,000 for a good deck. 600 is like the minimum for like a burn deck. And then standard is $200, $300. And I think you can easily get something for a lot less in Gwent. Not having it like fully premified, but still having a very good deck. And, being able to play on ladder and go quickly from a starter deck to something that is competitive and climb all the way to pro rank. I don't think that's something that requires, a lot of work on the player side, and I've seen a lot of streamers and content creators just do the run from from the bottom, starting a new account all the way to the top, then doing it like without a lot of effort on their part. So I think the economy is something that we've been going back and forth. Also the fact that if you played in beta and then you came back to the game and everything was auto milled for you, players that come back to the game who have left us since beta, they come back now and then they post on Reddit from time to time. You see those posts like, just got back to the game, I got a shit ton of scraps, what am I supposed to do with them? It's like, well, dude, you can do whatever now. And that's why and if you've been with us since the beginnings of Gwent, there's this problem with a lot of scraps, a lot of ore, and what we're trying to right now think of and kind of get down on the live ops side and on the economy side is to find like a some type of like faucet that we can open so players actually dump all their all their scraps and all their ore and stuff like that there. We have the same problem with when it comes to reward points and keys. So I think it's something that we as a company had to figure it out, and it's kind of trial and error back and forth, because we've never had to think about economy in an online multiplayer game, since I kind of always put it on the back of us being a company that specializes single player RPGs. So it's been a learning curve, and I think we've learned a lot throughout the years. And the changes that we introduced in 2020 kind of solidified us when it comes to how much things should cost and how much they should mill for. So yeah,
learning experience for sure. But at the same time, like I always tell people who are like interested in the game or ask me about the economy or whatever, I'm like, you could start a new account, and if you have a plan, if you have a trajectory in mind of where you want to go, if your path is set in terms of what deck you want to build, that okay, this is a tier 1 deck, this is the deck I want to go for. If you take the right journey paths and use your keys correctly, and get a little bit lucky in terms of like 1 or 2 kegs hitting you some of those legendaries that you need, you could probably within 8 hours have a tier 1 deck from start to finish.
Easy.
Like, and people are like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm like, yeah, you'll have every card you need for a tier 1 deck without spending a dime in about 8 hours of gameplay. Like, I'm not talking like there's like, it's not like, okay, you use all of your gold on kegs, and if all of those golds hits you every card you need. I'm like, no, you'll have a bunch of extra stuff too. And people are like, oh, well, every card game can get you a good deck. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking about a good deck. I'm not talking about an incomplete deck. I'm talking about
I'm talking about a competitive deck.
I'm talking about the deck that you're going to take to Gwent Open, like that kind of level of quality. You'll have all that in like 8 hours of gameplay, and people are like, really? Okay. And then they hear 3 rounds and no life totals, and they're like, well, I don't understand. I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. Topics for today. Again, we mentioned we don't want to dig too deep into Gwent Open, because Gwentfinity did put out a new show called
an awesome show.
Yeah,
round 4
that you moderate. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
That
was really cool to do.
It was cool to do, but we're not going to harp too much about Gwent Open. So if you guys want to go see a roundtable discussion, I think Gwentfinity puts out a show now after major tournaments called Round 4, and this one was cool. Sell the show to the audience, because I don't want to dig too deep into Gwent Open when we already have a show that was an hour of us digging into Gwent Open.
Yeah, so we pretty much go through everything that was happening throughout the weekend. Plus, we highlight our favorite moments, favorite plays, things that stuck in our minds after that open, and kind of going back from it. So we have, of course, you as a guest, Sealy, Shinmiri, Ryan, and me. Yeah.
Well, the Punchki Punisher is hosting.
Yeah.
So Gwent Open,
I was actually one thing. I was first thinking that maybe since there were so many of us, the show would be a little bit chaotic if we all started talking. But I liked how everybody kind of stood their ground and waited for others to finish in order for them to start talking. Really appreciated that, because I think that whenever we have more than 2 people on the show, on a podcast or anything, it just starts to being like chaos and stuff like that. But then I remember that we all kind of know how to do on camera and in front of a mic stuff. So it's not like the normal meeting that you have at work with 20 people in the room and everybody shouting over each other. It's just more, it's more, how to say it, structured. Yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, well, we're not to,
we're professionals here.
Yeah, exactly. We're professionals. We've done this before. I mean, everybody on that panel is a broadcaster. By profession, we're all paid to do what we do, which is awesome. And that's the thing. And it's a skill like everyone else. Everyone who thinks that it's just easy to put on a broadcast needs to give their head a shake and, just understand that it's not easy. But yeah, no, I agree with you. It was quite awesome. But again, everybody was very, very snapped into that like production mode of, okay, the recording button's on. We're all professionals. Pavel's in charge, and just wait till you're called upon to a degree. Obviously, there's a lot of more freewheeling and dealing, but it was great. So you guys, everybody out there, check it out. We'll give you a little bit of a tease. I mean, I suppose of what you could expect on the show, but we talked about, for instance, some of the things that happened, which were like big moments. But I also talked about the fact that I whispered some nonsense in your ear, which you could not repeat. So don't repeat it here, because we want people to go check out the thing. But
exactly.
I do pick and choose the times that I whisper nonsense in your ear. And this one was it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, but you couldn't repeat it. So it's good. I like it.
I just do it for the mystery. I just want, some element of mystery there. So people are like, what could have he said to him? How bad was it? I want to know. And then, they want to know. Just check out the show, round 4. Yeah.
I told you the release date of premium tokens in your ear, and you're like, I am not sharing this ever.
Exactly. But why would I laugh though? Oh, maybe I laughed because it was a joke.
Maybe it was an evil laugh.
Yes.
All right. Okay. RNG and Gwent, Mr. Pavel Burza. I know that ever since Gwent sort of came onto the scene, when I was introduced to Gwent by McBeard way long ago, I was splitting time between Hearthstone and Gwent. And my big appeal to Gwent, once I sort of understood the rules and how to play, I was like, wow, there's no RNG in Gwent. There's limited elements to it. I don't think there's things like trebuchets or whatever that do random damage or whatever like that. Sure is, but that is a calculable element of RNG.
Yeah.
To a degree. It's a certain level of points that are not necessarily reliably generated or taken from your opponent the way you want, but there's still points that you can count on occurring. Nonetheless, RNG in Gwent has gone up and down. I feel like it's got its peaks and valleys. I think right now with some of the cards that have come out, there's a little bit more RNG, but it's not even an RNG. It's more of like these mind game style things going on, which are great. But RNG in Gwent, I know it's a meme, and a lot of people are going to drop in there and be like, there's no, like, as soon as a trebuchet hits a piece of armor and, out of like a full board and it hits the only thing an armor, I know that like all of Twitch chat just drops the no RNG in Gwent meme and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I get it. It's like bad things happen and whatnot. But in reality, a lot of people were not there when RNG in Gwent was essentially the driving force of where
it was bad.
It was. Look, I'm not one to sugarcoat things. You know me. I'm pretty raw when I have my opinions about things. It was garbage, and I know that like I say garbage. Look, the direction of where that game was going, I understand why it was going that way, but I think we're enough separated from the midwinter update that really I can maybe speak a little bit clearer in retrospect, because it was a direction I feel that the game was going that maybe was not the right, it wasn't the right motivation. I think that there was perhaps a time where these cards that came out in midwinter, the addition of create and so many cards getting create, that it was almost trying to appeal to that Hearthstone crowd of discovering cards and discovering cards and discovering cards. Now, I don't know if that's true. Obviously, I can't be in the minds of those who are trying to market and put the direction of the game, but that's certainly how it felt, that the true essence of what Gwent was kind of got lost in the fray of trying to broaden the appeal of the game to players from other card games who liked that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's the growing pains of Gwent and us trying to figure out what we are. The problem with that was there were some decisions at a higher level made that we should add more randomness to the game because that's what people kind of enjoy. And it is true for other card games, but it never has been something that has been true for Gwent. Like Gwent never was an RNG game. Of course, you will have RNG elements like the cards you draw into, the cards you mulligan out, and you don't know. Like you don't know. Like this is RNG. There was also a lot of RNG associated with the coin flip, which was problematic, which was later fixed with stratagems. And we were always trying to cut the amount of randomness within the game because we've always felt that players did not enjoy this, but we also felt that randomness in some games is cool because players like, playing something and something incredible happening. Like I had a match with dwarves, I think yesterday, just after the patch, where we were on even points and then round 3 was ending. And my last ping from one of the dwarven berserkers that hits randomly just hit a unit that didn't have armor on my opponent's side. And thanks to that 1 point, I won the game. So it was an amazing feeling, and this is the feeling that we also wanted to have in the game.
For you, it was an amazing feeling.
For me, yeah, but not for my opponent. So we always wanted to have this element of randomness because we will not escape total. Like there is no card game that has 100% guarantee that you will have everything, apart from, let's say, a hyper thin list that you're able to thin to the cards and draw them. And I think Gwent also does that super well. I miss that aspect kind of in Magic, that I feel like it's even more random with a 60 card deck in order to draw into stuff that I really, really need. Unless I keep the game going for such a long time as a control player, I'm able to draw into my win cons. So that's something that will go well for me. But in Gwent, I think it's much easier to get those win cons going. And yeah, like we've been going back and forth kind of. And yeah, with the midwinter stuff, I think we kind of like we're taking inspirations from the card games that were on the market at that time and saying like we should be more similar to them because players will enjoy that, while players told us, hell no, we do not enjoy that. We like create was something that they were going against. I remember I was also very vocal at that time talking to our designers saying like, guys, people do not want this. Like, let's stop, going with the create train, because maybe it's fun to some extent, and we like the perspective of, oh my god, this happened and I didn't expect it, but I would much rather play stuff and expect the outcome and have RNG kind of limited. So then we started going back to the drawing board and having these create options, but having them at least to some extent in a controlled environment where players can figure out what are the possibilities of things that they're going to get. Like we have this with some of the archetypes right now, that you're able to kind of, anticipate what you're going to get, or you have this, controlled RNG elements in the game, which I think is totally fine and is cool and can be used in a proper way. But if it's just fully randomized, then we're not really bringing anything unique to the table and to the game, right?
Well, the argument I typically would give people about this kind of stuff and why it failed, it's like, if everybody likes RNG, like if that's the logic behind it, then why did this particular, endeavor fail for Gwent? Like it was supposed to be. Now, stop me if I'm wrong here, but I believe ahead of whatever year that was, if it was 2018 or 2017, I think it was 2017 when Midwinter, like 2017 into 2018.
17.
So stop me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that there was a very ambitious promise made to the community that by the end of the year of 2017, there would be 500 cards in the card pool. At the time, if I'm not mistaken, there was like 300. So you guys had a lot of cards that you promised the community would drop. And they did. And forgive me for being a little bit blunt here. Some of them seemed a little bit, like throw-ins. They were kind of like, in a Magic set, there's draft chaff. There's just cards thrown in there because not that they're expect to be played, but in limited, you need something for people to put on the board, right? And so that's why you had the, 4 strength deal 3 damage and the 3 strength deal 4 damage and that stuff. But ultimately, people, I think,
boost.
or the boost, like there was always a mirrored boost version of every damage card and stuff like that. It was like you design one card and you automatically get 2 because you just reverse whether it's damage or burst. but I mean, it's a big endeavor. I mean, you guys just dropped what, like 18 or 20 cards like recently? 21 cards, and that in itself was a big, I won't say like a big deal, but it took a lot of effort because a lot of these cards
changed a lot.
It did, but all of these cards are incredibly unique. They're incredibly impactful. They're incredibly different from everything else. So putting out 21 very unique cards is, versus putting out 200 where they're all kind of, a lot of them are generic or a lot of them are create. Like the create cards, to me, it's like you're not creating a new card. You're creating a card that brings in an existing card. So you're like, What are you really doing here? Like, is it really a new card? The other argument that I would always say is like, why would it fail if this is what people want? Well, if this is what people want, they already have an outlet for what they want. It's called Hearthstone, and I'm not saying it's a better or the same game in any way, but I'm saying that people have already invested a lot of money into a game that they already know and are good at, and if they want RNG elements, they're just going to go to what they know. The people who've already dumped hundreds of dollars into a game and have a full collection are not going to waste their time with something, learning something new, spending money on something new when they already have something that they already know and like.
Exactly.
So I'm so grateful that Gwent revamped into Homecoming and got rid of a lot of what was very problematic. RNG does slowly, make its way in, but part of it to me, I think is quite nice. Like it's a controllable or interactable element of RNG, like something like the Sorcerer of Dol Blathana. When you play it, you more or less kind of know what kind of card, but your opponent can then, if that Sorceress of Dol Blathana is sitting at 6, like you boost it to 6 and just waiting to use the order next turn, your opponent can damage it back down to 4 and limit your higher end RNG options. So I think that there's good RNG in games and there's bad RNG in games, and I think that Gwent has done a very good job of getting off of that train of just rolling dice and seeing what happens. And but that's basically what it became to a degree.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I think it's something that after Homecoming we kind of like, there's this silent agreement between the designers. Like we have a lot of people come into the company, a lot of designers who joined us since that time. Like we have Maligian who used to be part of the community. We have Jean, he's totally new. And other guys, and the team has been growing, but I think the philosophy for the game has pretty much, stuck to its core elements after Homecoming, which is like, let's not change this game into an RNG fiesta. Like if we want to do some randomized abilities, let's make them randomized in a sense where players can figure out like what are the possibilities. I mean, even the modes on Shoop and stuff like that, which feel very random, right? You can anticipate like what you're gonna get out of them, right? Of course, it's more of a fun deck instead of something like super super serious, but it's still kind of, you can expect like what are the possibilities of things happening, right?
Oh, agreed. I think that RNG does add a layer. Like the problem I find is that a lot of these companies that want to integrate RNG it's always fed to you with a sprinkle of sugar on top of saying, but it'll never be competitive. When in reality, if for those of you who've ever played Hearthstone in the past few years, you know that Casino Mage is not only a very fun deck to play, but a very competitive deck to play, because basically people have done the math on it and said, okay, if you're playing, there's this card. Now, when I quit Hearthstone for good, like maybe about a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I quit Hearthstone for good, it was partially because of the economy, partially because of RNG and Discover and all that other stuff. And it was hard to get an edge on your opponent when they're constantly refilling their hand with randomly generated stuff. But there was a card called like Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron, which was a 10 cost spell that said play 10 random mage spells. So you play it, and then it's like, so the thing about it was as the game got more, as the game added more and more cards, you're adding more and more powerful spells to the pool and more board clears to the pool of spells. So basically you're playing this card on the hopes it's like, if everything is doomed and you're screwed, you're like, okay, I'm going to play Yogg-Saron because I have 10 shots to get one of the many board clears. Yeah. So you'd roll the dice, and sometimes
Fingers
the board
crossed.
and yeah, I get it. It was super damn exciting because I actually started restreaming Hearthstone about 3 or 4 years ago for fun, because I was like, this deck is hilariously funny. And part of it was because I'm like, not only is it ridiculous because these Yogg-Saron puzzle boxes were not legendary, you could play 2 of them, and it was that on top of other legendary cards. There was a legendary card that said play it and generate and play 5 random spells. So you had so many opportunities to just, your opponent would be like putting all kinds of stuff on the board and you're like, nope. You just like confetti in the air and whatever it touched would die. It was it was awesome. It was like a surprise party, and it offered a lot of fun. But at the same time, when it happened to you, you're like, why am I working to establish a strategy and a synergy when this dude is just literally going to open this FU box and, who knows what jumps out of it?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I tried Hearthstone once in 2016. I remember that the randomness really took me away from it. And I think it was because I was the person that played Magic, and I feel like paper Magic and Magic overall has not, I don't think it has a lot of RNG in it itself. Like you never have effects that say play this card and spawn some random stuff. And I think in a physical card game, it's very hard, apart from, having the possibility to draw into cards and kind of see. I've always enjoyed in Magic any type of brainstorm effects that let you draw cards, any type of cantrip. You draw cards, you see what you drew in, and then you choose one and you put the rest on the bottom. So you're kind of anticipating, okay, I won't need these 2, but I'll need this one for sure. So I need to put this in my hand and put the rest on the bottom. This also lets you go through your deck and sift through and go find stuff that you need. And I always enjoyed that aspect of it. I also was happy when we introduced tutor cards, because I really love tutors that let you pull out, the specific cards that you need in a given situation. Or you search for your tech cards that give you the flexibility and possibility in order to do cool stuff. I really love Aneromancy. For me, it's one of staples in any deck that I play, because not only once but twice you're able to pretty much go and pick the card that you need on a given moment, and it's a card that you have a lot of thought process behind, where you need to think okay, do I play it now and search for the thing that I need right now, or do I wait and use it to search for something that will counter my opponent or will be an answer to whatever he or she plays? And I love that. I love that aspect of any card game, the possibility of actually go take what I need and see if it's going to work or not.
Well, the fun part about RNG in certain card games like Magic is that it's hard to, because you can't generate random things. You're not dealing random damage. I think the only element of RNG that I've ever seen that was true RNG was there's certain cards that are flip a coin until you get tails, and for each time you hit heads, clone one of your creatures on the board or something like that, which
I forgot about the coin toss deck. Yeah, something that you can have in Commander.
Yeah, but they exist, but they're very fringe, and it is what it is. I think the way that RNG in Magic works these days are cards for instance, there's a card, one of my favorite cards, Itali Primal Storm. I don't know, from Ixalan. It's a legendary red dinosaur. When it attacks, it says both players flip over the top card of their deck, and you, as the attacker with Itali Primal Storm, can cast one of those 2 spells for free. So if that card is a creature, you get a free creature. If it's a big spell, you get a free big spell. So those kinds of things, or things like Cascade, or those ones that allow you to go through the deck. It's reveal cards reveal cards until you get a land, and then play that land and exile the rest.
Cascade is actually competitive because you can build your deck around cascading into the specific card that you need. There's a Cascade deck in Modern which is super competitive. It's 4 colored rhinos, and pretty much you need to cascade into a spell that lets you create rhino tokens, and you will always cascade into it. So it's like a guaranteed. And this is what I like about card game design, randomness, but kind of if you build the deck around it, you can get it's like our new design for Golden Necker, right? Golden Necker is something that when you read it are oh god, this is super random, but then when you think about it, it depends how you build your deck. You can build your deck around the card, and then it becomes less random. So, but still, it's fun to play. And I've seen that Lionheart is, I think he was streaming Meave and Double Necker decks, and he enjoyed it. So I feel like it has this, because we also need to think about it from the viewer standpoint. Of course, you need to think about esports, which is a huge element in Gwent, but you also need to think about the viewership and kind of, having fun. Like you said, you were streaming Hearthstone because that casino deck was just so fun that it was an entertainment aspect to it of watching that, and people love that. I also always say that people come to my streams because they want to see my misplays or my suboptimal plays or some weird cards that I put in my deck, like Pafko Gale, because just for the fun of it, because I'm kind of obliged to. And I do it, and I think they appreciate it more instead of, having like the best cookie cutter player just going in and destroying all the time because they know every possibility. Like, oh, if I pink here and do this, I'll come out even, blah, blah, blah. And they do this 2000 IQ plays and stuff like that.
Oh, man. I remember when I was streaming those, it was like some of the people who would watch me stream Hearthstone had no idea what was going on because they'd watch me play Gwent typically, but they knew the box. And there was an emote and a sound bite that I would have on the stream of people like going, the box, we need the box. And then it's fantastic because like whenever I would draw it, the whole chat would cheer. And they'd be like, do it now. I'm like, no, it makes no sense to do it now. We're not going to, like, because it could kill my board. Like, we don't want that to happen. So, you're right. I mean, it makes for good TV, but ultimately from the perspective of just, like, making for good gameplay and staying true to the nature of what you guys want to do, It's got to be controlled to a degree. And the way that it's occurring now, I think, is the correct way. It's very digestible, but, and it's kind of like the RNG in Gwent to a degree is like a canoe going down like a river. You could kind of direct which way it's going, but ultimately you're at the whims of where it wants to take you. But you can kind of steer it to a degree. You can lean it one way or another, but at the end of the day, you're not in charge. It's something else.
Why do people enjoy keg openings and pack openings the most? Why do they enjoy that aspect of it? Because you don't know what you're gonna get. Like, I still see, like, whenever we have patch 10, people start opening kegs, and there's people in chat kind of sitting and waiting and kind of predicting what are the possibilities. It's a whole game by itself, and that's random. You don't know what you're gonna get. Like, you of course know that if you open a certain amount of things, you are more likely to get a legendary, for example. And I think this is something that any card game has, that this has this thing called a PD timer that is pretty much going to say that, okay, if this person has opened so many kegs or so many packs and hasn't drawn into anything good, that they are guaranteed to get something. And that of course applies to everything. But you have this one thing in card games that people are always drawn to, is like, oh, open some packs, let's see what you're going to get, or let's predict what he or she might get. And I like that. I mean, the feeling of opening a pack and getting into some cool cards is always amazing. Like, I mean, I still like to check out on YouTube. There's this big Pokemon streamer like Leonhart, right? Don't confuse with Leonhart. And he is well known for opening old, also vintage, but also new packs of Pokemon cards and seeing which cards he can draw into, and like predicting, like, okay, opening, sifting through, like he always, like, he knows where the legendary card is, so he always puts it on the bottom, so it's the last card that he shows, and he keeps on going. So I got this and this and this and this and that, and then if he gets a foil, he goes crazy, and then people go crazy in the comments, and then he sends the cards to be graded. The cards come back from grading, and based off of that, he kind of makes his own big collection. Like, there was this one episode of how you call that place where you go and you sell stuff and you get money for it?
A pawn shop?
Pawn shop, exactly. Like a Pawn Stars episode where a guy came in with his collection of like Pokemon cards, and they saw that he had like graded mint Charizards that were worth thousands and thousands, and the guy didn't sell at the end because they were willing to give him less money than he thought the collection was worth. And yeah, he also did some collaborations with them. And this is also a randomness aspect of any card game. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get when you open a booster pack, and it's fun. It's what we kind of, it is called like cardboard crack for a reason. Like, it has this aspect of, you don't know what you're gonna get. So
I'm gonna show you something.
I mean, but let's not have it in the gameplay. Let's have it more in the, see, exactly.
So these here,
flesh and blood.
These are cases, sealed cases. In each one of these is four sealed boxes. I have a sealed case of every set that's ever come out for Flesh and Blood right over there here. Now, the reason is part of it's like it's investment. I have the collection, but you know how hard it is for me not to just open these when I'm bored?
I know.
You know how hard I have like, I don't know how many cases. I got like 6 cases or something right here. Now, every time a new set comes out, I buy typically 2 cases, one to open for my collection and get cards, and the one to keep for whatever. But also, like, I keep them there because if ever, like, when pandemic is whatever, or if my like Flesh and Blood channel gets bigger or whatever, like, you do drafts with them, you do contests. I've done giveaways, I've given cards and packs and boxes away and stuff like that, and that's part of it. But man, is it hard not to just sit there and open, like the 25 boxes I've got sitting right next to me just to
But it's tempting, right?
It's dangerous.
I have also a couple boxes of some Magic sets that I just keep, but I keep them mainly if we do like a draft and at work, for example, or like a draft with friends or something like that, or if I'm pretty much having a down day and just want to open some packs and see if I can get into something. But I always like to keep it for draft, more or less. But yeah, it's tempting to open those because you want to see what you're going to get. Maybe you're going to hit a couple cards that are worth, a couple $100, and then you're, it's an investment. And I'm also like I have a couple like graded Pokemon cards. I have like 2 Charizards which I keep. Like one is base set, one is I think later, like 2011, which is like a 9. The other one is an 8, and I just keep them because I know that it's like a return on investment in a couple years, because Pokemon cards went very, very high up once they had their 25th anniversary, and they will start like going even higher once they have their 30th anniversary, and then the one after that and stuff like that. Well, it's an investment, but apart from that, it's also like I keep it out of nostalgia too.
Well, part
because
of it is
I played Pokemon as a kid, right? And I have the same thing with Magic cards. Like I have some Magic cards or some versions of cards that I bought specifically for the fact that I know I had them as a kid, and I just want to have them, in my collection.
That was me with comic books, and I remember having discussions with people who thought I was crazy. And I mean, like, to me at the time, I wasn't buying comic books because I was thinking that I was, in 30 or 40 years, I'm going to be retiring off this stuff. But like in my early 20s, I spent a lot of money on comic books. I was making a lot of money because I was bartending, but at the same time, a lot of that money was flipped into comic books. And I remember I bought a lot from a friend of mine who was like getting rid of their stuff, and he's like, look, I've saved some pieces for you that I thought you'd like, and I knew that you'd appreciate them. One of them was like a comic from like maybe like the late 60s or early 70s, a Spider-Man one, which was the first appearance of the Rhino. Another one was Fantastic Four number 52, which was the first appearance of the Black Panther from, I think, also the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. And it's graded as an 8.0. And when I bought it, I bought 3 comic books from this guy for $100. And
Dude.
that comic, the Fantastic Four number 52, first appearance of Black Panther, currently is selling for about $4,000 to $5,000.
No.
So
no.
It's like they are investments.
Thank you, Marvel movies.
Well, no shit. Like when Black Panther was announced as a Marvel movie coming out, I was looking at that comic. I was like, mwah! Like, yes, like absolutely, let's go. But yeah, again, owning cards for investments, and this all stemmed from the RNG of opening packs, because you will not. It's common. It's a common fallacy that if the best way to make a collection is to open boxes, it's not. It's to buy singles. Buy singles is the best way you can do it. If you think you're like, wow, I'm gonna buy four copies of this card for my deck, and they're like $10 a piece, like $40. It's half a box. I'm like, okay, you're gonna buy a box, get maybe 1 copy, and then
zero,
and then feel absolutely terrible. Singles are definitely the way to go.
Singles have always been the way to go if you're into paper card games. Like if you want to build a competitive deck, you need to buy singles, and that's why there's a whole marketplace that you can go to, and you have sellers from all around the world selling their cards and collections, and people buying them because you can get some good stuff on a good price, and just add it to your deck and build that deck that you're dreaming about, and then you finish that project, then you move on to the next deck, and then the next one, and then the next one, and it never ends. And that's the beauty of card games.
It never ends. That's why I'm very happy that I'm good friends with Alias V, because when it comes to Magic stuff, if ever there's like a copy of a random card that's come out in the past 10 years that I need, I'm like, hey, do you have a copy of whatever? She's like, yep. And she's like, here you go. I'm like, woo.
Easy.
It's very rare that happens. Usually she's the one volunteering stuff. She's so good. She's like, my 2 commander lists are, I have a Selesnya Angels list, and I have a Mono Black Zombies list. So whenever she opens new cards and there's like something that she thinks would be good for my 2 commander lists, she'll put them aside and she'll give them to me. So she's super awesome like that.
She's awesome.
She's awesome.
That's really thoughtful.
It is. But what wasn't thoughtful was moving away from me and leaving me here.
Once again, you have to mention that, all right?
Yeah. It's all about me.
It left a mark on you.
It did. All right. Before we go to the Q&A, I have one Q for you about RNG.
Fire.
Is that do you think, or do you know that there will be more elements of RNG sort of integrated into Gwent, or have you found that balance where you guys are happy with it?
I think yes and no. RNG to a limited extent, I feel like it is something that we want to do because we want to play around with new card abilities, and like you can tell by the last 21, like the last set that we had recently, the 21 cards, like you can tell that the designers had a lot of fun in designing these cards. Like they could do things which are a little bit more crazy. We've gone all the way past the times where Gwent was the boost and damage game. We now can have more depth, more cool design stuff, and I feel like we'll always try to keep that balance. Have some wacky stuff, which is more like towards Golden Necker, let's say, and then more stuff like, I don't know, having like Vial, for example, of Forbidden Knowledge, which lets you just boost something, but it's still an awesome legendary artifact, which is the gold, and you play it and you get to boost something. I love that card, and I think a lot of people are seeing that the potential of that, and there, cards which are less RNG, more adding depth to the gameplay and to the sequencing and to the things that you can do within the game, and then also having a little bit of fun with a little bit of RNG, but keeping RNG to a minimum, because we need to bear in mind that we want this game to be fun to play, and we want it to be competitive, and we don't want to go back to whatever happened with the midwinter update, which was like, us shooting ourselves in the knee pretty much, and running a marathon and then trying to get to the finish line.
Just add extra layers.
Yes.
All right. Well, there you have it. That has been our discussion about RNG in card games and in Gwent specifically. If you have comments or questions, you can always ask us, because we got questions this week, Mr. Pavel Burza. So,
oh yes,
it's time for the mailbag right after this message from, well, nobody, but we're gonna toss it in here anyways. Who's our chief sponsor right now?
Blue Jeans in Gdańsk, Blue Jeans Bar. Use the code Flurza15, or just go to Blue Jeans in Gdańsk, to the bar, and say that Mateusz from Canada has sent you over, and then they will probably hook you up with all the good stuff, or they will punch you in the face or say like, who the hell are you, and who the hell is Mateusz from Canada?
It keeps getting more and more violent. It started off with look at you funny, then it went to like they'll ask you to leave, and now it's just straight shot, just crossed right across the jaw. All right.
I think based on our viewer base, I think there's just more and more people coming there, and I think someone will show them the video one day, and they'll be like, "So those are the people responsible for it." And we're in Poland; they can find me easily. So more than happy to talk about the sponsorship opportunities. But yeah, that's our sponsor for now. If you want to sponsor us, let us know. Like reach out.
I'm honestly happy to, So I still have I have a coffee sponsorship for my Flesh and Blood stuff. I'm gonna talk to the guy and ask him if he's okay if we did like a fun ad for this show. If he wants to be
totally
dual sponsor, we'll see. I'll talk to him. All right, friends. Right after this, the mailbag.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mailbag, where we answer your questions coming in through Reddit and Twitter. And here's our first question. Thanos Did Right is the name of this person. You will enjoy that, I know. Is there any chance for in-person World Masters? Dumb.
I mean, look, I think I message you or Vlad easily once a month about this, about, things are honestly constantly in flux in terms of like where the pandemic's at, and everybody's right now, at least here in Canada, I don't know about everywhere else, but like the governments here have sort of taken a very hard, they took a very hard approach in terms of locking things down and being very cautious, but I think that they've sort of crossed into this mode of like, you know what, we can't do this anymore. Like, we can't do it anymore.
Same
now, whether
here.
you agree or disagree with that, obviously the virus is still out there. There's like, here in Canada, they're talking about another wave of it and another strain, and but the good news is that the strains are a lot less devastating to the body, but they're still as if not more contagious. So it's like,
especially if you're vaccinated, right?
Yeah, I mean, get vaccinated. That's like the first thing definitely to help. I'm triple vaxxed, and I've traveled a ton. I've traveled to the States multiple times in the past year, and I've been out there with masks on and everything, but I've been out there in large crowds for various events and tested negative every time. Now, what does that say? Does it say that the virus is gone? No, because it's not. It just means that I've been protective and cautious. But, I think every month or two, I'm constantly asking Vlad or you for an update about what the prospects are of having one of these in person. And the answer I typically get is, as soon as it's safe and as soon as it's possible, that's the plan. Yep. So is there a chance for World Masters? World Masters would be what, in December, I guess?
December, yes.
I mean,
it is something that we also, like me, Repek, the rest of the team, they wanted to happen. Because if you remember correctly, this is something that we mentioned also on previous episodes. Like, before we went into this whole COVID-19, we were supposed to do World Masters in person, where you were all flying in almost, and when you had to stop like last moment. And we want that World Masters back. Like, we had everything planned. We had assets ready, and we had like a whole production team behind it. That is not our internal production team. But I'm only afraid of the fact that we've been doing so well on the production side, maybe apart from some technical difficulties that we have on the tournaments, like we had on Saturday, speaking of Open, that we've been doing it so well that, they'll look at it like, maybe we should keep on doing them, this way, because, the guys are doing such a good job, and, it's less cost when it comes to flying people over and, getting players here. While I feel like if you're doing esports, and Vlad also, I feel, feels the same, and Repek and the rest of the team, is the fact that if you're doing esports, you should do them in person. Like, it cuts a lot of technical stuff out and makes the whole experience much easier. And it's simple things like, players connecting instantly because they're sitting next to, like, in front of each other, having casters in place and letting them know that, okay, guys, this is working, this is not working, or, having the possibility of not waiting for someone to connect, or, it's more better doing it in person. The production value is also better. Like, you can set up multiple cameras for different shots. You can do a lot of cool stuff just on that end of it. And I think just the sheer element of having everyone come together and, be in the studio, get to meet the developers behind the game, get to talk in person and hang out with the players, the casters. And I love that. I miss that. And I feel like everybody loves and misses that. So I think the future is at least to have at least World Masters as the in-person event, and then thinking how we do opens. But I would love this one in December to happen. But it's a decision that will probably come straight from Vlad, and also will be discussed between us, the esports team, let's say. Yeah.
Like, it's obviously a point of selfishness for someone like myself who's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I want them all to be in person because I get a trip to Warsaw and get to hang out with my friends and do what I love. Like, obviously for me. But I will say this. I mean, I've done several Flesh and Blood events in person, and it is absolutely a different and better feel when, from my perspective as a broadcaster, when I can play off of and take visual cues from my co-caster. Because, like, when Shinmiri and I do it, I don't see him. I'm staring at the screen of the game that's occurring, so I can't tell what his reactions are, getting a little bit of those cues. So it's a lot more difficult for myself as a broadcaster to have a smooth or create a smooth experience where we're not talking over each other, we're not trying to interrupt each other, we're not trying to, because typically, like in reality, when I'm casting in person, if somebody wants to say something, they'll usually just like, and I do this the same, it's like, I'll put my hand, like, I'll either like put my hand on their arm, like to say like, okay, I got something to say, which allows them to know that I need to say something, but also allows them an opportunity to wrap up their thought so that they can give me an idea to go. But when it's just myself or Shinmiri and we don't have that opportunity to even see each other, I can't even like put my hand up and like wave or say like, hey, I got to say something. Like, so if from a product perspective, it's always better. And trust me, Thanos did right. Like I absolutely want this to happen. I would, if there was a tournament tomorrow, I'd be on a plane in the next 2 hours and be there in a heartbeat. But it's so I guess to answer the question, Pavel, is there a chance? I guess that the answer is yes, obviously. Yeah. And it's
you're
not
saying there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Yeah, exactly. We're going to go full Lloyd Christmas on this one and say that yes, there's a chance. Absolutely.
Always.
The Magikarp Tamer saying,
nice name.
There's a Pokemon term for you.
Magikarp's awesome. And people never take Magikarp for granted, but it turns into Gallardos. I mean, take that into granted.
There's never been more of a pain in the ass than trying to upgrade your or level up your Magikarp into a Gyarados, because typically you're like going through all the bushes with Magikarp as your first Pokemon, and the first thing you do is swap him out so he could share some of the XP with the whoever.
That's what I always did.
You had to.
Always. Since the first Pokemon game, always Magikarp, always wanted to get into Gyarados and Hyper Beam. Amazing.
All right, so the question here is, considering that the new cards involve a lot of mind games and calculations, how do you think the community will react in the long term? Are these auto-includes or short-term gimmicks? Great work on the show and the last Open. Really excited to see y'all at the next tournament. So that is the question from Magikarp Tamer.
It's hard to say. It's hard to judge after one day of the patch.
Well, it depends. You can go on Reddit and see people again dropping their like, I'm leaving this game forever. It's like, okay, relax, calm down.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think some cards from the set will become staples, and I feel like they are here to stay, while some maybe might be a little bit overtuned and might need some small tweaking along the lines, but I feel like they will have an impact of how we play the game, and I feel like they will leave a mark in a positive way on the game, because I've already seen like the initial feedback, which I was sharing with the team after the launch day, and people are enjoying some cards, and they're also saying that some cards are, something that requires maybe some afterthought and balancing, and those things were already like passing on to the developer team, so to the balance team, and they're like fully aware like the things that we flagged for them. So I feel like they will be looking into stuff just to be 100% sure, but they also will be like, when they designed these cards, they thought like they will have an impact. And I also know when we're doing like closed tests and stuff like that, there were some feedback coming in from the testing team saying like, okay, well, this will probably it will either perform well or it will overperform, and based off of that, we'll need to decide how to proceed further and what to do with them. Hopefully we don't run into any cards which become like gameplay breaking, stuff like that. So we'll see like what the next couple of weeks will bring. I've already seen that Traveling Priestess is something that people are kind of targeting. We'll see how that card performs, but I mean, that's card that we see like that is performing super well. But we've also seen before Open that the Waylay elf deck was overperforming in some specific ranks, especially the higher ones, because that's also where we look into. We look into lower and higher, and also like what are the players playing in the middle. And well, pretty much, we didn't have anything stand out to such a level where it was like, this needs to be addressed with a hotfix. So hopefully we can keep that going. So yeah, that's my answer.
Oh yeah, gimmicks and such like that. Like the problem with gimmick cards is that they're usually introduced as kind of like, okay, like this can be functional in like a very fringe style deck and whatever, but the worst thing that can happen is like these weird gimmicky cards become just powerful in multiple different variants, and then they become problematic because like the whole create thing, just not to harp back on what we were talking about in the first segment, but like the whole create element was supposed to be, the randomness was supposed to curtail the power level of the card. It was supposed to diminish the power level. Like you're trading a high ceiling for less reliability, and in reality, that wasn't the case. So to answer the question, how will they react and how would the community react in the long term? I think that the cards will definitely see play, and if some of these cards create poor experiences or they're in way too many different decks, then the balanced team is going to address it. So I think that it's going to take some time to just sort of flesh out the true power level of some of these quote unquote gimmicks. But in reality, what is a gimmick? A gimmick is something that should have success in a very small margin of situations. And if those small margins of situations turn out to be, digestible or viable, then that's fine. But if a card is good in multiple things, it's no longer really a gimmick. Like Sunset Wanderers to me felt to a degree like a gimmick, and then it just started popping up in so many different lists. It was like an auto include where it eventually got addressed, right? So that's my feelings.
Yeah, I hope we have cards like, once again, we'll mention Golden Necker that make it and are here to stay, because it's a card that is themed after a project that we're working on. So I mean, it would be nice if it was here to stay and people enjoyed it. So yeah. So I think that answers the question.
That's a good answer.
All right. Next one by T. Laliet. Probably, I don't know if I did a good job. Let us know if I pronounced it properly. What was the inspiration to limit the rows to just 2 as opposed to 3, like in The Witcher 3? Also, when was the last time you've played Witcher 3 Gwent?
Well, I've never played Witcher 3 Gwent, so I'll answer that part. So the last time I've played it was never. So that answers that. You can definitely answer the first part.
The inspiration here was that we wanted to introduce abilities that would correspond to the 2 rows. I think it's something that you saw initially after Homecoming. Yes, after Homecoming, where we reduced the rows to 2. And that we wanted to have cards which, if you play them on a specific row, the positioning of the update, which came out after that, is something that we kind of talked about. So we wanted to have more stuff that was, more cards which were designed to correspond with the rows. Why not 3? I think we wanted to also add the aspect of the amount of cards you could fit and how you played in order not to, because you couldn't, with 3 rows, you could play to such an extent where you were able to fill, like you wouldn't be able to fill up all 3 rows. And with only 2 and the row limit added to it, you were kind of limited to the number of cards that you can play. So I feel like also, like, one is the design behind it and design behind the cards, plus the fact of, adding another gameplay element in terms of like having cards which are restricted to only 2 rows. Nice. And the last time I've played Witcher 3 Gwent, I really didn't play it in Witcher 3 itself. Back in 2015, I think I tried it once there, but it wasn't something that I really got into. And then I was replaying Blood and Wine, and I played a little bit of Gwent just to kind of see what's the hype about and kind of go back to it. And to be quite frank, I played a couple matches and I was like, why do people like this so much? It's kind of boring compared to what we have with Gwent right now. So that's my take on it.
I like it. that works out. Tamaria96 from Reddit asks, whenever I need to go in front of a camera, I spend a solid hour overthinking my outfit. How is it how is it for the two of you with your great outfits? Do you just put on whatever and don't think about it, or how does that go for you?
On a daily basis.
Does Dominica dress you? It's like
no,
you wake up and the clothes are laid out on the bed.
No. I'm not one of those guys. On a daily basis, I just throw on whatever I feel comfortable in. And that is kind of, my go-to, like t-shirt, hoodie, jeans, shoes, socks, and stuff like that, and underwear that I just choose based off of what I'm feeling like I want to wear on that given day. When it comes to being in front of the camera, when it comes to streaming, I always try to have something that is connected to The Witcher or Gwent or Cyberpunk in this case, because working for the company, I am able to get some cool clothing for free, which I can use for the broadcast or for the recordings that we do. And I try to always have those, so people kind of, when they ask me like, where'd you get that t-shirt from? Well, it's available in one of our stores, for example, or I just got it because, I'm working for the Gwent team. And this was a special t-shirt for a special launch. Jason used to have this tradition that whenever we launched an expansion, the team members would get a cool t-shirt with saying like Gwent team on the back and Crimson Curse or Novigrad, or when we had we have one with Alzur in the front, and like we have these open ones which were kind of given to players, but also we had as a production team. So these are kind of things that they're just fun, and I think they have an interesting story behind it, and this is something that I will wear on a daily basis. But when it comes to being in front of a camera on an Open or World Masters, previously we had a stylist come in to help us with pretty much styling everything that we want to wear. Flake, we've mentioned this numerous times. And now what we have is we have a person that works for the event team, and she kind of comes up with some cool ideas when it comes to shirt and jacket combos. I also sometimes just send over stuff that I like because it's flashy, it's cool, and I'm not afraid of wearing something that might be a little bit funky, crazy, and because I think if you're doing a live broadcast of like an esports event, I think if you look at what other hosts on esports have done, they dye their hair multiple colors, they wear funny jackets, and it kind of reflects their personality, but also is something that people will discuss, because it is something that people discuss, because it's a question here. Plus, whenever we have any pre-tournament bingos or people are expecting what's going to happen, they also always talk about clothing, and clothing is one of the aspects of it. So yeah, we get outside help, and it's really cool to work with a stylist for at least a little bit, because when you get to talk to this person, he or she will tell you like, this works well with this, or this doesn't go well together, or whenever you wear this, here's a simple trick, like when you use this color, try to go for something that has a different color. Like they tell you all these ins and outs and this kind of secret knowledge that they have. And then funny example, like when we were getting married last year, I went to the stylist that stylized everything for me for Opens, Challengers, and Masters. And I went to her, I'm like, I need you to come up with something cool for my wedding. I have no idea. I don't want to be the guy that comes out with the same clothing that everybody. I want something different. And she's like, how do you feel about white? I'm like, white? No, I ain't going dressed in white. But if it's like off-white, like dirty white, yeah, maybe let's try it. And she just sent me a couple links of stuff and saying like, order these things, put them on. And I ordered these things, I put them on. And they fit perfectly. The second, like apart from the jacket was a little bit too big, but then she was like, I have a tailor that can come in and kind of fix that for you. So it's like fits you perfectly. I was like, damn, that's really cool. So got that fitted and spent like minimal amounts of money on that because I bought everything on sale. And nice. Based off of the links that she sent me of like the color of the shirt, the color of like the handkerchief thingy that you put here, and like from stuff like accessories like the glasses or the belt and stuff like that, Like she put it all together. I'm like, how is this even gonna go work like together? How is this gonna work? And I put it on. I'm like, shit, this works. This works perfectly. Like the green and the white works so well, and it fits the venue that we have. And it's like these people have some type of, I don't know, some forbidden knowledge. But then, you go to the store and you start buying things based off of some, stylized things that you had or some pointers you got from the stylist, and then you're like, okay, now I know what I'm doing, right? So you kind of get the instruction to good clothing. Well, what about you, my friend?
Oh, me, dude. It's like, all right, underwear, whatever. T-shirt. It's like I've got like 10 that I really like, and the rest are just like once I'm through those 10, and if I haven't done laundry, I usually do laundry like every 2 weeks, and just do it for the whole 2 weeks. I did it yesterday, so I'm like fresh and clean, like let's go. But you could tell like towards the end of the week, I'm getting to those socks with the holes in them, and like the underwear that doesn't kind of chafes a little bit, so. But like I think they're asking more so in terms of for these events, and I mean it's different because the events that we did in person, we have somebody to dress us and whatever, but now I'm on my own, man. Like I don't have an adult to dress me, and that's like you mentioned that's not you, but holy Moses, if I just woke up and like they're like, this is what you're wearing, I'd be like, one less decision to make, sounds good to me. But for me, honestly, like I have like 2 or 3 sport coats. So I'll wear those. This particular past weekend, I literally used the exact same clothes that I used for the Flesh and Blood event that I cast like a couple weeks ago. I had the 2 shirts, so I'm like, those are ready to go. And I had the blazer that I used for them. I'm like, those worked for that event.
Great, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm like, I'll just use these. Fun fact about that, I wasn't supposed to cast that event. I was supposed to play in that major event. And the night before, at about 11 p.m., the night before the event, I get a call. While I was on the road, I was driving to Indianapolis. I had made a pit stop in Buffalo, New York to meet up with a friend. And that night I was supposed to sleep there and wake up at 1:30 in the morning to make my 8-hour drive to Indianapolis. I get the call the night before from somebody saying, "What clothes did you bring?" And I'm like, "I don't know, jeans, a t-shirt, whatever." They're like, "All right, we need you to cast." I said, "Yeah, I'm in. But I don't have clothing for it." So like, do your best. So on the way there, I stopped at like TJ Maxx and spent like that. Those 2 shirts that I had were like $22 together. Like I just went, discount rack, Babcha Barisha special. Absolutely, go straight for the rack with the red tags on them. Those stickers, discount, clearance. I'm no fool. Yeah, it was the best like 22.
Yeah, you can get really good stuff on clearance, and you should be doing that. Like
those 2 shirts.
Just
those 2 shirts, they clearance. Work. Absolutely,
they're awesome.
So that's basically how it goes. I mean, there's nothing really. To me, I like wearing like a t-shirt with a blazer over it, but for certain events, you need to be you need a collar, a little button up. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, a t-shirt and a blazer or a jacket is super comfortable and super nice.
It's but below the waist, gym shorts, and sometimes just bare feet. Like legit, that's how it goes. Like the top half, and you'll see this. Like even remote interviews on like CNN, if there's like an expert, if they get up, they're wearing gym shorts. They just that's the new like basically save half price on your formal wear. If you're
like since the pandemic hit, like we've been rocking like sweatpants throughout, or it's either that or gym shorts if it's summertime, because I mean, like you don't want to be uncomfortable when you're sitting for X amount of hours. Like you won't be sitting and like your best jeans and your best shirts and stuff like that. You just want to be comfortable, like you would pretty much, roam around the house. Like you don't. It kind of also takes away the aspect of thinking like what you're gonna wear to work, because you're working remotely, so you can wear whatever you want and nobody will give a damn, right?
Yeah, dude. If I had the ass for Lululemon yoga pants, just invest.
Lululemon's great company, by the way.
Oh God, I'm a fan in many ways of Lululemon. Okay, next question.
This is an interesting one. Will Gwent have a roadmap that will lead to the next Witcher installment and possibly have a rework, or will Gwent in its current state end before we see the next Witcher game? Well, that's a morbid ending.
Yeah, I forgot about the second part of that question.
First of all, nobody ever confirmed in any way if Gwent is going to be in the next Witcher game or if it will not be there. So, like, first you would need to get that question out of the way, and the answer is I don't know, and that's the truth of it. And I don't think like you have to keep Gwent as Gwent the Witcher card game, the multiplayer game, out of whatever is happening with the next Witcher installment or whatever. Like, look at it like it is right now. Gwent, Witcher 3. Can you compare those two things? No, they're two different games. And I would kind of leave to that mindset that, we also had a question, I think, last week where it was, do you think that Gwent should be in the next Witcher game? And we all, like both of us agreed that no, because we want Gwent to be its own thing and stand on its own 2 feet and not be compared to any type of game and any type of single player RPG. So we want to do our own thing and kind of not be compared to anything else. So I know we still get compared a lot to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and the Gwent there, but I think as a card game, we've evolved beyond that. And I think we're a lot more than what Gwent was in The Witcher 3. And I think comparing it to that is kind of doing a lot of like this, it's not justified to what the game is right now and how it plays and how much work actually went into it and how much, blood, sweat, and tears and decision making, good and bad decisions, of course. Like it would be detrimental to compare these two things. So, when it comes to the game, its health and its growth and stuff like that, I can tell you because there were questions: is the game dead? No, it's not dead. There were questions if Golden Necker is something that is dead because we haven't heard about it. No, it's not dead. It's still happening this year. So, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we have to bear in mind that this is a card game which is from a company who specializes in single player RPGs mainly, but also, we did this for a reason because people were asking for Gwent to become a standalone game. And when it comes to its future, it's all kind of going to be based on how the game performs and how the player base will look like, and if people will be buying stuff and will be, a lot of things kind of factor into this, and it's more of a high level business decision if anything ever happens to the game, and not something that I think you or me can just answer like that, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe people will stop playing card games and there will be any. And we've seen the card game market kind of go up and down. We've seen a lot of card games come in, a lot of card games, fizzle out and disappear. And we're still here. And I think we're on a good trajectory. We've seen some content creators come back, not only leave Gwent. So let's keep that. I saw Sir Pumpkin playing Gwent today, so I mean,
that's a good sign.
Maybe.
Well, a good
it's
sign.
a omen of good times.
Yeah, again, but in the same broad stroke, there's also, again, one person decides that they don't want to play the game anymore, and then everyone just decides that the entire future of the game is tethered to that person's YouTube channel. It's like, well, relax.
They're connected.
That's correct. Will Gwent have a roadmap? Like, the thing about it is that I don't think so. First of all, the thing, and possibly a rework. Why rework it? Why? Like, why is everyone the community? I feel like they are so freaking horny for reworks. It's ridiculous. Like, everything.
Nobody likes them in the end. Nobody likes reworks in the end,
dude.
Because if you take everything and you, like, we've even learned that if you take something and you flip it over on its head, it's not going to be the same thing. And people are like, oh man, I have to figure out all these cards. I won't be bothered. I'm out. And we had this just after Homecoming where people were like, I need to learn everything once again. And then we did an update where we also like started, making this game not a boost and damage game. And people were like, oh my God, I need to learn new stuff. And then, I think we're at a point where you can safely play the game and not have this aspect of I need to relearn everything. Like, you can just play it and everything will be fine. So let's keep that going.
Yeah, I don't think that Gwent needs a rework in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think that it needs to even have any connection to The Witcher 4. I mean, the connection to The Witcher 3, I get it that a lot of the characters and cards and whatever are obviously from the Witcher lore, and it pulls from there, and I would suspect that maybe some Witcher 4 characters will make it as Gwent cards one day, and that's just part of it because of the the pool of lore from which these games are playing. But the fact that like Gwent is just this bridge between Witcher 3 and Witcher 4, and that's all it is, I think is incorrect. I think that it's sort of established itself as a standalone, and that's what it
Exactly.
is. This is not sort of the in between. This isn't like Gwent isn't Witcher 3.5. You know, like that's not what this is. That's kind of how.
And we're not trying to be.
Yeah. Last question. It's several questions from Jack Flag. Jack's always good for some very good questions.
Yeah.
We'll pull
agreed.
one or two out of this, but there was one or so that I really wanted to dig into a little bit, and it's I'll read it as a two-parter. It says, have there been any ideas on how to bring back some of the older Triptych card art pieces? It seems such a shame to miss out on 2 out of 3 of the story. So, for instance, for those who don't know, back in old school Gwent, certain cards were like they were the same card in terms of game text, but there was a 3-pronged approach to the art. The same, since you could at the time have 3 copies of any bronze, a particular bronze card like Reavers or Neckers or Shield Maidens or Blue Stripes, it was one gigantic, beautiful artwork that was cut up into 3 adjacent pieces. The card text was the same. The card was effectively the same, but it was different artwork that completed this beautiful 3-piece sort of tapestry. It's much like right now you see the Crones. The Crones are like that, but the Crones are different. However, back in the day, it was the same card, the same game text represented in 3 connecting pieces. So I think the question here would be, is this something that's, I mean, part of the question is also, how to bring it back. Is that something that's even on the radar?
It was a couple of years ago, but it's not something that is on the radar right now, to be honest. I think it's something that was cut at one point. There were some ideas that maybe we should be bringing it back, but I also know that our art directors throughout the years, they hated Triptych cards because like drawing them also is very specific, and they also felt like it was weird from a gameplay standpoint to have it made sense if you would play one and the others would muster in and kind of create this nice image. Like when we had silver cards, you would play the silver witchers or the silver crones, and they would all jump into place. I kind of miss, the only one I miss is actually the shield maidens, because I think they look very, very cool. Reaver hunters kind of they were also cool, but then at one point we kind of decided that we will just stick to one art, and I think it makes more sense. And then also doing animation on all 3 of them and trying to kind of also them work in sync and look good was also a problem. So it was something that was dropped. I know there was also an idea back in the day, which I don't think we really discussed a lot, was the fact to have more cards in Triptych form, or more cards in a way that if you play them in the proper sequence, something cool would happen. So kind of like the Yu-Gi-Oh! I think, what was that, Exodia, or what was that card that when you had them like next to each other, like you would have you would have some ability happen. So we were thinking about like doing I think it was an idea for a Zerrikanian expansion where you would have these cards that if you put them together, that they will have some crazy ability. But as far as I know, that was scrapped some time ago. So, this is something that I can talk about because it's something that has been scrapped, but I think we will never go back to that in any sense, like having this possibility of putting cards together and trying to make them work, right?
Yeah, that was the other thing that Jack asked, is that if there's any opportunity for like some sort of, if you correctly sequence or you correctly place the 3 Triptych arts to form in the right order, you get like a boost or a bonus. And I guess that was something that was thought about, which is fascinating, but again, ultimately tossed. Jack also asking a question that was asked by somebody else. Jack asking it in slightly a less confrontational way. Let me get this question. Let me see if I can exactly get it. Yeah, so the question, I believe, was regarding, will we ever get a Triss variant or version that was NR specific? And the question was asked by Jack, but also by BDYMS. I don't know how to pronounce that, but saying,
I saw that one.
Yeah, asking, I would ask the usual Triss question, but devs don't give a damn anyway. Real edgy there, buddy. But hey, look, we're answering the question, and frankly, how do we answer that? Because Triss has several variants and versions already, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and do we really need one that's NR specific? And I get it; it might be lore friendly, as some might say. That she's got, an affiliation with Northern Realms. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that stuff.
She was advisor to the NR Kings, and I think also to Foltest. That's why it would be flavorful. But to be honest, I don't even know. Quite frank, if we're planning any other Triss cards from the cards that I've seen that are going to happen down the road, I have not seen any major Witcher characters. So when we're talking about the big three, which is Geralt, Ciri, Yennefer, and Triss, that's 4. Yeah. So the big 4, haven't seen anything in terms of like new cards for them. But these are things that can change, because we might have one of our artists draw something incredible, like, cool, that will totally fit here. I will make it a card. So you never know.
Yeah. The one thing about this is that like the response I got, because I asked the question. I asked, okay, first of all, I asked what's the usual Triss question, because I didn't know, and then I was educated on the fact that Triss is a very important character in Northern Realms and blah blah blah, and I get it. And then I asked, okay, is Triss more important than adding a new card like Renfri or Dagon? And the response I got was yes, she's a more important character. And you're right, Triss is a very much more important character to the grander scheme of things, and she already has several versions of herself. So how many more do you possibly want?
I think we're just one Yennefer above a Triss card, and I think that's what causes the commotion. Like we have the always the fight between Team Yen and Team Triss.
Yeah. Is this really the hill you want to fight on, like, and die on? Yes. Like, ultimately, and the fun part about that was the response afterwards said, I think blue balling the community for so long is getting old at this point. Who's blue balling? It's not like we're like, Triss is coming, wait up. Like, exactly. No, there's no blue balling. It's you're blue balling yourself by creating expectations of what you want and then not getting them. It's like every time I get a buzz from the lobby of my apartment building, I'm like, oh, it's only the mailman. It's not Shakira. Like, when are you gonna stop blue balling me, Shakira? Like, god damn it! It's been years and you still haven't shown up at my door. Like, no, you're creating your own blue balling scenario here, because CDPR isn't out there saying that these cards are coming.
We never said that.
No, exactly. This is what makes me laugh, is that you're setting your own expectations and then being disappointed by them. It is literally that meme of you putting the stick in your own bike spokes and then blaming CDPR. Like, this is what bothers me sometimes about this, like, the whole thing, is that this is it might be you who wants this card, and it might be many of you who want this card, but are you is creating a new Triss card that much more important versus, let's say, other characters who don't have cards already? Or what makes you more important than the wishes and desires of the other parts of the community that want other things? Like, everybody wants freaking Dagon. Like, so should we get a Triss card?
Everybody wants Renfri.
Everybody wants Renfri. I get it, but like, the fact that they're saying that CDPR is blue balling you because it's not happening. Like, you have 2 Triss cards already, and it's not like CDPR, like I said, is not releasing press releases saying that Triss is coming, a new NR Triss is coming, and it's been like months and months or years and years, and it hasn't happened. You are creating the expectations, and you are making yourself disappointed when it's not happening. In the same regard that I open the door and it's the pizza delivery guy and not freaking Taylor Swift. Like, that's the same reason. Like, it's the exact same reason.
Nice.
Anyway,
but
again,
pizza you anticipate, and Taylor Swift you would not.
I still haven't. This is what really bothers me, is that back when I was living in Montreal, my hometown, I had my go-to pizza place. It was like, I know what I'm getting. I know that it's awesome. And since moving here to Toronto does a lot of things great, and they do a lot of things terribly. One thing that they do terribly is pizza. Like, it's all chain restaurants. It's all like, Domino's or stuff like that. Yeah. I have yet to find that mom and pop place that makes really, like, I'm not afraid to spend a lot of money on pizza, because if it's good and then that's what I want. I want fresh ingredients. I want thick cut vegetables and meat and whatever on it. I don't want a formula when they make it. It's like, I don't want them to be like, okay, 1 scoop of sauce and 1 hand. Like, 8 ounces of cheese. No, screw that. I want a guy in the back who's like watching a soccer game with like a cigarette in his mouth, making the pizza, not giving a shit about what goes, how much goes on it. I want my pizza to have some.
How much I throw, it's how much you get.
That's it. Yeah, a handful. Like that's it. Like I want to know who's working because of how much ingredients are on it, because the guy's hand is bigger than his colleague's hand. Like that's it. Like, and I had a place like that in Montreal. Said. A place in Montreal. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Pizza Nico's in Montreal. It's in the west end of Montreal. It is so damn good. And whenever I'm back at home, that is all I crave is ordering pizza from Pizza Nico's. Oh, nice. I miss it. Can't get that here in Toronto. Anyways, that's I guess how we end the episode of saying don't blue ball yourself. You it's ridiculous.
Unless we promise something and we're not delivering, let us know. But
like premium tokens. That's like
premium tokens.
That is in fact blue balling.
For 14 months.
I'll absolutely call out CDPR on the premium token blue ball. But let's get real here. Creating your own expectations and then being disappointed is the meme of you putting the stick in the bike spokes. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So that's on you.
Just, take life like it is. Like it's either something happens or it doesn't happen. But yeah, just don't expect things to happen 100%. Because this is not how life is. And I think when it comes to designing games and also working on features and planning stuff out, like there are things that will move in time. But if we said that we will do them one day, that means we'll do them one day. If we haven't said that we will do them, then probably we won't. Or maybe we will and we'll surprise you with it. But, there's a lot of factors that go into this. So yeah, just keep an open head. And I think what we've done as a company and as a team when it comes to the Gwent team is like we always listen to what you guys are saying and we take that feedback and we will implement some stuff, but it always takes a little bit more time and sometimes things get moved because some things need to be done before that and you need to take those things into account and just be patient with us.
I love it. Another episode in the books. Mr.
There we go. Episode 11 of the Flurza podcast.
The Saku Koivu Memorial. Well, it's not a memorial. Exactly. He's still alive and well, but...
Dude, yeah.
I love him. I absolutely love him.
Experience.
I love him. All right. I'm going to end the show like I do most other shows. Pavel, I love you, man.
I love you too, buddy.
And we love
Always
you.
Always awesome.
We love 98%. Well, I love 98% of you.
I love you all. Don't worry. I got you. I got your backs with all your, your good parts and your bad parts.
No, yeah. I don't want any bad parts. Too old for that. I'm good. Yeah. I'm good taking only the good parts. Yeah. On that note, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the Flurza experience. Don't forget.
And you're not losing when you're learning.
It was close. That was close. You're not losing if you're learning, but
if you're learning,
yeah.
Damn it.
I mean, it's
trying to get that
semantics.
Down. I'm always bad at getting like specific wording for stuff. But yeah, I like that saying. And I've been thinking about you saying that all the time. And I fully agree that even if you lose, and if you think about what you did wrong or kind of, if you make a mistake, you will always learn from it and come back stronger. So keep it going.
That phrase got me hired by Legend Story Studios to write for their game. They contacted me and they said, we've seen some of your podcasts. We've seen your work. We've read some of your articles. We're very on board with that mantra, with that saying. We want you to.
It's a really good one.
Yeah, they said we want you to sort of flesh out an article series that kind of digs into that whole mentality. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So, not to cross-platform, promote myself, but I do have an article series on FABTCG.com, which is the Flesh and Blood official website. I write for them.
Check it out.
Yeah, I write for them once a week. So part 3 of my series of article series should be out there. But it's a series about how to go from a casual player to a competitive player. So it actually has a lot of implications for Gwent players. So if you're interested in learning how to get better, a lot of the stuff that I say in there has bearing on you as a casual player.
Yeah. Yeah, because card games they might be different, but they have a lot of similarities between them. And I think if you listen to what we're saying here, kind of we bring examples from all the card games that we kind of dabbled into. So there are some similarities here. So yeah, check them out for sure.
All right, I'll give you another shot at it. You can say the line.
Damn it. Now you put pressure on me.
Pressure.
So yeah, you're not losing if you're learning.
All right. Dobranoc, Jechi. We'll catch you next time.
Dobranoc, Jechi.
The Flurza experience. Bye.
Bye.